and unreliable. And this put every PC in this building at risk. We have found viruses here and resolved them. About 3 weeks ago, I spent literally 14 hours here reconfiguring that server, and we did it without any additional hardware or software or any additional cost to the county. But in just these 3 weeks, we've made that server stable, and the antivirus system has come online and worked well. Those are some of the things that we have done. I'm sure you all realize that even one virus, when it gets into a network, can literally take down the entire network. We have also identified the fact that the data that is on all these servers was not being backed up properly. The county attorney had a backup system that they were using about every other week, but it was on old, outdated hardware, and it didn't have proper software. So not only did it take one user the better part of a day to accomplish, we feel that had they needed to use that backup to do a restore, they would have lost data. The primary server that holds all the email, as well as the business office server that holds all their files, hasn't been backed up in months. Again, because of inadequate hardware and improper software. Just in the last month, we were authorized to purchase the software to retrofit all these servers. And then at Cybertron, we generated a plan where we used hardware that was purchased as part of the Kronos installation in combination with this software. And then we reallocated the other backup hardware and we came up with a plan so that we can now back up all the servers in this building. We did that without purchasing any additional hardware from what you already had, which saved the county between $2,000 and $3,000. So yes, we did have to purchase the software, but we can now automate the backup system and get this data backed up properly. Up until I did a manual backup a few weeks ago, there had never been a backup of the email here that I could see, ever. And that's a serious issue. So these are some of the things we've accomplished in just a short period of time that we've been here. At this point, we've actually gone to every PC on the networks that we're responsible for. We've done some routine maintenance. We have scanned them for viruses, spyware, and malware, and we have removed literally thousands of infections among all the machines. It was just rampant, because nobody had been here to do this type of work, and that is the type of thing that we do. And while we have done all this, we still have a long way to go. Service updates, service patches, security updates, things like that, we haven't even begun to install yet. So again, these are some of the things that remain to be done. We recently installed some new machines over at the nursing home, and what this has done, for instance, we have one user in the social services. When she goes in to put in data on a particular resident, it would take her on her prior machine 3 to 4 seconds to go from one screen to another. Doesn't seem like long. But with the new machine, it now cuts down to less than a second. And when you figure that every resident, every piece of information, she may go through up to 10 different screens at an extra 3 or 4 seconds per screen, that's a half minute per resident, repeated dozens of times per day. That keeps her away from the residents where she really needs to be. As we mentioned, since 2003, we have fully maintained the network over at the jail. During this period of time, we have maintained a 99.9% uptime. We really can't get much better than that. And as I stated earlier, we are available 24/7, and the jail, of course, is a 24/7 operation. And there have been times where they have contacted us after hours, and we have responded every time they've called us after hours. We say we're available, and we prove it. Over there, viruses have been virtually non-existent. I'm not going to say that they've never had a virus, but we honestly can't remember when they've had one. And spyware and malware infections are rare. Again, they do happen, they're part of the industry today, but by proper maintenance and prevention, it doesn't happen very often. So in summary, some of the issues that we have identified, over 70% of the hardware on these networks is outdated. We have generated a plan by which we've identified which machines are most in need and made the plan for replacing those. Now the machines that we're replacing, the plan is to keep as many of those as we can keep running and implement those in the new nursing home for the residents to use. So again, we're trying to reallocate the resources we have, and again, saving the county as much money as possible without compromising the system. The malware, the viruses throughout these two buildings is just rampant. There's no way to describe to you just how bad they were. But we've gone through and we've cleaned up this network, and that just, again, affects productivity and speed throughout the entire network. There were really no IT protocols in place here. We're working with the IT committee to come up with use policies and things like that. And there was really no primary contact for IT support. They didn't really have anybody here. The sheriffs would help when they could. They had another company that would be called on occasion, but there was nobody here on a regular basis, and that is what has led to this network running inefficiently and being unstable. In the short time we've been here, we have made this network at least stable, yet we do have a long way to go, and that is what we will do here. For our contract, we are here whenever you need us. We don't limit the amount of time. If we need to be here every day this week, we will be here every day this week. And basically, anything and everything that is necessary to maintain and repair this network is provided underneath this contract. Can I answer any questions for you?
Any questions, Representative McCarthy?
Yes, you mentioned that you service, you take care of all the computers within the county complex, the nursing home, the jail, et cetera, except the sheriff's department.
Except the sheriff's, as well as
Registry of Deeds.
Registry of Deeds, yes.
If the sheriff's department was added in on the contract, just a ballpark figure, what would it cost to add the sheriff's department in?
We came up with a preliminary figure, and this was based on a meeting with Captain Myers, and he explained to us that if we were to be in there, we would need to be about 4 hours per day every day, and we came up with a figure of about $65,000. Now, we really have little knowledge of what it is they're actually doing in there. I can't guarantee, I don't know if 4 hours per day every day is a reasonable figure. It was based strictly on what is reported to us. It is entirely possible it could be less than that. One of the things that I'm sure happens is when he's in there working on his system, he is disrupted regularly. If we were in there, that wouldn't happen. So that was a preliminary number. Captain Myers has contacted us to start working with him over the course of this coming year in learning his systems so that if he is out and they need somebody, we can be his backup. And should something happen to him, we can be there to take over. We feel that perhaps later this year, or at the end of the year, we could have a better estimate. But again, the direct answer to your question is that number was based strictly on the amount of time that we were told it would take us.
And what is that number again?
$65,000.
$65,000.
Correct.
I just have in the fact that he is going to be working with Captain Myers, is that an increase in the contract that we have with him already?
That hasn't been discussed as far as I know. Right now, our contract with Cybertron for everybody else, other than the sheriff and the registry of deeds, is $55,000 a year.
So if there is any, from what I just heard, was that there was a discussion that you'd be working with the sheriff's department to learn it so that there'd be a backup. And I assume that the commissioners haven't heard about that yet. What we will have to do is find out from the sheriff's subcommittee whether or not that has been discussed and is in the budget. So
I believe that's just a preliminary
Okay.
phase at this point.
Yeah, just be sure that before you go, that you are covered. Just need to do that
Thank you.
follow-up.
Yeah,
Representative Conklin and then Representative Fleck.
I just want to make sure that I understand properly. I want to know how much it would cost, in addition to the contract that's in place now, what would it cost to add the sheriff on?
That $65,000 was our preliminary figure.
That's
That's
just
in
for the
addition-
sheriff's department?
Just for the sheriffs.
Okay, Representative Fleck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to get some information about comparative operations, 4 hours per day, is that typical of what we might find in a department of that size? Have you looked at that, or will you be looking at that in other counties or other similar agencies?
I can tell you from what little I've worked with Captain Myers that his system is very thorough. He has many redundancies in place, and I can guarantee you he will never lose a single byte of data. Whether it is overkill or not, I am not in a position to tell you that at this time. I do know that he's very thorough.
And one of the things that we may ask the subcommittee as they're going forward is to compare what we have with other sheriff's departments to see if we are in the ballpark of that. Representative McConkey.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Is the other department that you said it's not being used in your service is the Registry of Deeds? Is Registry of Deeds because we're already paying for a service as part of our contract?
The Registry of Deeds has a very esoteric system designed on a statewide basis for the Registry of Deeds, and they contact with Connor and Connor. And that's why we do not do that.
Thank you.
And I think that is all registry of deeds, all 10 of them do that. Okay. Any further questions? Okay. Thank you very much for cleaning up our system.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. So, all right, well, thank you. Well, let's go into the, Representative Umberger.
Yes, they said that the contract for the year was $55K. Does that cover everything? Or are there, if you use more services, do you pay more?
The question is $55,000, we get them 24/7 if we need them, or are there add-ons? That's really the question. And I think that you've told us that the $55,000 covers everything that we have other than the sheriff and registry of deeds.
Right.